Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome back, or welcome if you are new. I hope you are having a fantastic day. Beginning today and ending tomorrow evening, you are going to be seeing my initial post-burn reviews of the Kringle Candle Halloween 2025 Classic Black Jars that are going to be launching over at Kringle Candle. Kind of, I guess you could say, overnight between Thursday evening into Friday evening. So the technical launch is August 1st at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for those of us on the West Coast, that's actually going to be July 31st at 9:01 Pacific Standard Time in the evening, obviously. So if you are on the East Coast, you're gonna have to stay awake a little bit later than those of us on the West Coast to place your orders. These candles, if you are new to Kringle Candle Halloween, especially these classic black jars, unfortunately, a lot of these candles do sell out very quickly. This is, I would argue, one of the most anticipated releases from Kringle Candle every single year. I think this is probably what they are actually most well known for, is their Halloween collections, specifically this black jar collection. The fragrances and the labels are always really unique, very interesting, and I would say definitely some of the creepier labels that are out there when it comes to Halloween packaging, and people really enjoy Kringle for this particular release. Now, I will tell you a little bit of a spoiler. We do have a couple more Halloween collections coming. I will give you guys that information just as soon as I am allowed to share it. So obviously, if you are not already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button right below the video here. That way you'll be notified of all of my future content. So yeah, we have a lot more Halloween candles to get to outside of these 12 new fragrances that I'm going to be providing some initial reviews for. So just so you guys are aware, when I'm sharing these reviews, I have only burned each of these candles 2 separate burns. Each burn was 4 hours, so a total of 8 hours. With each candle. I will probably not be doing other in-depth reviews at the halfway point, only because typically these candles burn pretty well. However, I'm gonna keep burning them, and if anything changes, if the wicks dud out, if the wicks get super out of control, if there is a lot of sooting, or if the candle just completely duds out scent-wise, I will be providing updates on those candles. But if they keep burning fine, just know that the candles are doing fine. So I will provide those updates if they are needed, but for this particular release, I'm gonna go ahead and just call these initial reviews the Halloween reviews for the black jars this year. So it's a little bit different, where I normally would share each individual candle in its own individual review. For this collection, because I'm trying to get it out in a more timely manner, I am going to feature 3 of the fragrances in each video. So we'll have a total of 4 videos that go up. One is obviously going up right now. There will be a second video that goes up later on today, and then we will do the same thing for tomorrow, where I share another video of 3 candles in the morning and then another 3 candles in the later afternoon. So again, if you want to see all of these in-depth reviews and you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. That way all of these will pop up in your subscription feed. So a little bit different from how I normally do things, but you guys really like these post-burn reviews. And if I were to do it my usual way, it's just gonna take me a lot longer to get these videos out. So this is how we're doing it this go around. Hopefully you're good with it. Like I said, I will update you on any of these candles if they decide to dud out. but I just want you to have this initial information so that you can make the best decision possible when you go to place your order. I'll put a link where you can shop with Kringle Candle at the top of the description box. I will also put my discount code down there. Mine is just Melanie15. That'll save you 15% off at checkout. So without further ado, let's get started with this first review here. So let's dig into Mummy Marshmallow first. So per usual, I will be sharing the top, middle, and base notes. I will tell you what I actually smell in the fragrance post burn. We'll discuss the strength and throw from these first couple of burns, and then I will also show you guys a top view of the candle so that you can see what kind of wicks that you're going to be dealing with. I have not trimmed the wicks since I have done these last burns here, so that way you guys get a sense of what wicks you are getting with each of the fragrances as well. So let us start with Mummy Marshmallow. Now, Mummy Marshmallow is one that definitely smelled a little bit different from my first sniff impression. When I first stuck my nose into this before actually lighting the candle, I felt like I smelled a lot more of the marshmallow, but I also smelled a really nice kind of smoky ember type note. But it did change while I was burning this one. So let's read through the notes here. So for our top notes, we have cinnamon, clove bud, and marshmallow. The mid notes are earthy moss, birch, and cedar wood. And then at the base, we have musk, oak, patchouli, and vanilla bean. Okay, so when it comes to this particular fragrance, when I actually lit this one up, the marshmallow went into the background. I could still get a little bit of that marshmallowy sweetness, but honestly, this fragrance centered a lot more around the cedar wood, the cinnamon, the clove, the birch, the moss, the patchouli, and the musk. Those were really the key notes that I was noticing when this one was actually burning. It was a lot smokier than I initially anticipated, and I kind of thought it would be smoky, kind of like if you tried Warm and Toasty. I initially had compared this to Warm and Toasty, but this post-burn is a very different experience. With Warm and Toasty, yes, there was a lot of like smokiness in that one, but I also still got a healthy dose of that sweet marshmallow note. I am just not getting marshmallow here very much at all. Like I said, it really fades into the background of the fragrance, and there's much more emphasis on the spice notes here and a lot of these like woody, musky notes. The patchouli is not an overly heavy, earthy patchouli, but it's also not the usual kind of perfumey patchouli that I actually really enjoy from Kringle. I'm not as big of a fan of this earthy patchouli, and it really does seem to develop a little bit more in the fragrance once the flame actually hits the wax. So with all that being said, I didn't really like the transformation that this one went through. I don't think it's a bad fragrance. I just think that for me, with the name of this one being Mummy Marshmallow, I kind of expected that marshmallow to be a little bit more prominent, and it was not post-burn. So that's a little bit of a bummer there. But still a nice, smoky, definitely Halloween vibe type of fragrance. So if you really like the label on this one and you're okay with the marshmallow kind of fading into the background, you might still very much enjoy this one, especially specifically for Halloween. The strength and throw, I will say, is surprisingly not as strong as I was anticipating that it would be, only because it's got some heavier notes in there, obviously. You know, with that cinnamon, with that clove and the oak and the cedar wood and that birch, I really expected this one to be a little bit more of a powerhouse. but I would put the strength of this at a 6 max. So with something like this, normally I would expect it to be at least around an 8, just based on the notes, but this is a lot lighter than I was anticipating. So the strength I'm gonna put at a 6 at most. The throw, I would probably put right around a 6 as well. Is it going to fill the room where you're burning it? Yes. By the way, I burned most of these candles, not all of them, but most of them in the upstairs of the house, where we have a much more average ceiling height. The downstairs of our house is much more open concept. The ceilings are significantly higher. And so I figured just to kind of get a more average experience for these particular candles that I would burn them upstairs. So yeah, I would say slightly below average strength and throw for this one, and something that, you know, if you're someone who gets more of a 7 or an 8 in terms of strength and throw from Kringle, usually you might be disappointed in the performance of this one. But anyway, I'll let you make your decision whether you still want to grab this one or not based off of my experience with this one here. But it definitely surprised me based on the notes that it wasn't much more potent. Let's really quickly take a look at the wicks here so that you can see what you're getting. So these are not wicks that form huge mushroom tops, as you can see. I do, with wicks like this, I do trim them. I just take this little tiny part off at the top typically, where it kind of starts to like bend over here. So I will typically remove that, and then I will go in with the next burn. So not particularly big mushroom tops on this one. There's some other fragrances that form some much bigger mushroom tops. So I would say that the wicks here, they're probably gonna be fine for the remainder of this particular fragrance. Yeah. Other than the reduced strength and throw and the fragrance, you know, just kind of turning into something that, you know, I was hoping would maybe have a little bit more of an emphasis on Marshmallow, but this not having that, it's a disappointment to me. But hopefully this helps you deciding whether you want to pick this one up or not. Let's dig into Killer Clown. By the way, if you feel like you are hearing some like snoring or snorts in the background of this video, normally I would say that that is just Alf sharing his free pug ASMR, but today it's actually Penelope, who is also a pug. I have 2 of them if you're new around here. Actually, Penny's in the background here. The pug that is on the left of the picture that you see there, the 2 dogs with the pitchfork. The one on the right is Mr. Kong, my original first love and pug. And then next to him is Penelope. So that is who is snoring underneath the video today. So thank you, Penny, for providing us with a little bit more ambiance as we go through these Halloween candles. Okay, Killer Clown. The top notes are ginger, apple, and fanged fig. The mid notes are purplish plum, anise, milky skin, which for whatever reason, I just hate those 2 words together, and peach. It's also a mid note there. And at the base, we have warm honey, tonka bean, and dark vanilla. Okay, what an interesting fragrance here. There's something about this that smells really powdery, and I'm not sure what it is. I feel like it might be a combination of the tonka bean and maybe the like milk note that is creating that like powdery aspect to this scent. It's a really interesting one. This is definitely, I would say, predominantly like an apple scent, but there is definitely some ginger and fig here as well. And I think those two notes definitely blend really well at the top with that apple note. But as you get into the mid notes, first of all, I smell no plum. I do smell a little bit of that anise, but it is very faint. It's kind of in the background. I smell quite a bit of that peach though. And that peach is a very interesting addition to the apple, the fig, and the ginger. I don't know that it necessarily goes like in a normal fragrance. I'm not sure that people would be like, oh yeah, cool, peach, apple, fig, and ginger. That's a great, that's a great pairing. But here, because of the type of fragrance that this is and because of the label, I think it kind of makes sense because it's weird, right? Like it's a little funky, a little weird, a little different, but it just kind of works because of what this is. So yeah, the milky skin specifically, I think to my nose is just kind of a just general milkiness. Like, it's not like you're smelling skin here. I don't know why that just creeps me out, but it does. Anyway, so there's just kind of an interesting like creaminess to the fragrance at the same time, I guess you could say, which I'm gonna say is that milky skin note. So gross. Now the base. This is an oddly sweet scent, and I would say that it's definitely honey that is giving you that particular sweetness here. Like it's not like, a maple note. It's not a molasses or brown sugar specifically. Like it's very much like honey. The tonka bean is a really lovely kind of, I would say slightly more earthy tonka. And then the vanilla that's in here is, I think it's actually adding a little bit of sweetness along with the peach and the apple and that fig. You're getting a little sweetness from that fig as well. So yeah, this is a slightly sweet fragrance. It is a slightly powdery fragrance. It's a very interesting combination of different notes that I have never experienced in another fragrance, I can tell you that. Normally I wouldn't put peach and apple together, but it kind of works here. So yeah, I don't know that this is going to be anybody's like favorite fragrance per se. I would love to know if you purchase this one, kind of what you think about it after you actually stick your nose into it. I feel like it mostly smells like it did from my cold sniff impression, but slightly warmer, I guess you could say, once it's burning. Just very interesting, very unique. No plum for me here, so I normally enjoy plum, and I think it would have been nice in here, but I don't smell the plum. Everything else, I do definitely get at least a little bit of a whiff of. So strength and throw, so this one does quite well. I would say this kind of, for me, this one falls between like a 7 and an 8 in terms of strength. And it's a good solid, I would say 7 in terms of throw. It does definitely travel outside of the area where I burned it. Now this one of the burns I did in our master bathroom, and then I took this one downstairs because it was quite strong in the bathroom, and the bathroom was probably the smallest room that I was burning candles in. It's still a big bathroom, but it was smaller than the bedrooms here. So I did kind of want to test it out downstairs, and it still performed quite potently downstairs as well. So I'm not really going to change my strength and throw numbers. So if you're looking for a good strength and throw from this Killer Clown, I definitely got that. The wicks on this one, I do think that you want to be a little bit more careful because the larger mushroom tops do seem to develop on this one. Sorry, kind of awkwardly trying to hold this. And you can see how those wicks are definitely curling over here to one side, which is kind of interesting. But you can see that there's definitely some big carbon balls at the top here that you're gonna wanna trim off. They're a little smaller on this second burn on the other side, but for the first burn, it was just as big as this one. So please trim these wicks before each burn. Yeah, but overall, if you like this label, if you like that very unique milky skin note, I would say give this one a try. It's certainly an interesting fragrance that I think a lot of people are going to either really like or potentially really dislike. So I'm very curious to see how this one goes over. Lastly, for this video, we're gonna discuss Pumpkinhead, which for me, this one I would say is in the top 3 for the Halloween classic Black Jar release this year. I really like this fragrance a lot, and I think if you like a lot more of those traditional fall type fragrances for Halloween, this one is gonna be right up your alley. And you'll see when I show you the wicks at the end here that I actually did burn this one a little bit longer than some of these other fragrances because I really like this one a lot. I feel like Pumpkinhead will be one of the ones that will sell out early on. So I'm just putting it out there. I don't want it to sell out. I want everyone who wants it to be able to get their hands on it. But I do think just because of the type of fragrance that this is, that it's gonna go quite quickly. So the top notes are spice and pumpkin. The mid notes are orange and cinnamon. And then at the base, we have clove and vanilla. Oh, you guys, this is so good. It's almost like they combined a just classic fall pumpkin with the cinnamon, the really beautiful like Ceylon cinnamon, not red hot spicy cinnamon, a little bit of nutmeg, maybe just even a little bit of like a pinch of allspice, and then they also tossed in like an orange pomander vibe. So you also get a really nice orange note in here. You get the clove. And then at the base, there is a nice kind of creamy vanilla bean note as well. This, like I said, smells more like a classic fall fragrance than some of these other fragrances we're going to be discussing here. It actually smells delicious. The picture doesn't look like it would necessarily be like an edible, you know, gourmand type of fragrance, but that's really what this is. And it's just a well done fall fragrance. Like that is what this is. And I love this one. I would actually say that I definitely have a top 3 here, but I would put Pumpkinhead at number 1. It just is kind of exactly what I gravitate towards, you know, during September and October. And it's really well done. The strength and throw are solid. I mean, again, strength, I would say between a 7 and an 8. The throw, probably, I would say also somewhere between a 7 and an 8. It's quite potent. It definitely filled the bulk of the upstairs. I actually burned this one in both the master bedroom as well as the hallway outside of our master bedroom. And it filled up just, I would say, most of the upstairs. It is a really beautiful scent with good strength and throw, and absolutely one that I think a lot of people are going to clamor for. And my hope is that Kringle is expecting this one to do well and that they poured extras of this one. I think it's going to go fast. So if you're looking for that like pure gourmand option from this particular release, this I would say is your very, very best selection for that. And I recommend it wholeheartedly. It's really, really good, you guys. So let me show you the wicks on this one. And you'll be able to see I definitely burn this one a little bit longer than some of the other ones. So you do get those somewhat larger carbon balls or mushroom tops at the top of the wicks here with each burn. So I definitely trim those off and then go in with my subsequent burns and have not had any concerns or issues. But the burn has been really good right out the gate from this one. I don't anticipate any problems. And I think the only problem they're gonna have with this one is that it's gonna be a quick sellout. So I hope that these 3 initial reviews here were helpful for you. Later on this afternoon, I will upload the second video of another 3 candles. And then, like I said, tomorrow we'll do 2 more videos of 3 candles each. And then you will have, you know, some post-burn review thoughts from me, and hopefully that combined with some reviews from some of the other ambassadors, that this really helps you decide what you actually want to invest in this year for your Halloween collection. So let me know if you have any additional questions. Check out the top of the description box for a link to Kringle Candle and the discount code. I appreciate you guys being here, and again, subscribe if you're new. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Toodaloo.